Hi, my name is Mackenzie Morgan, and I'm in the Lyman High School chapter. I live in Lyman, Wyoming, and go to school at Lyman High School. My event name is Leadership, and my project title is Who Am I? Because I was trying to find out who I am and who I want to become as a leader. As I did the planning process page, my concern was that I wanted to be able to notice the skills that I already have in leadership, and my goal was to be able to develop the ones that I lacked in. My plan was to work throughout the school year to be able to see the things that I lacked in, but also see the things that I did good in. As I acted, I created goals to achieve in Fccla, school, and at home. As a follow-up, I'll be able to use these skills as I go through college and in any community responsibility that I'll have. I've learned that I grow exceptionally fast. However, according to my evaluators, I do need to work on confidence, perfectionism, and getting overwhelmed. And it's funny because according to my leadership competency, I also need to work on interpersonal communication skills, which has a lot to do with confidence, perfectionism, and getting overwhelmed, so it makes sense. A couple goals that I love doing was confidence. And in this, I had a public speaking class that I did online and received a certificate for, and that's what you can see right now on the monitor. I also had an affirmation, and I said it every day for 2 weeks. And this affirmation says, I inhale positive energy and exhale any fears. I will not worry about the things that are out of my control. I'm no longer afraid of what could go wrong. I focus on what is going right, and I'll calmly think of any solution of any problems that may arise, and I can handle anything that comes my way. I love this because I love the ending of it. And since I had to say it over and over and over, if you say something long enough, you start to believe it after a while. And so I really love that I can believe it a little bit now, that I can handle the things that come my way. For perfectionism, I worked on criticism, and this is really hard for a lot of adults to work on. So I took baby steps on trying to do this, and my number one thing was to find different ways on how to handle criticism. I came up with a list of some things, and my favorites from the list are number 3, show gratitude to those who offer constructive criticism. Number 8 says to smile, and 10 is silence the inner critic. For the third subtopic, it's being overwhelmed, and I needed to work on my different types of anxiety. The types that I came up with are generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, social anxiety disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, separation anxiety disorder, and different types of phobias. I also came up with different coping mechanisms for each kind, and many of them were either medications or they were a combination of psychotherapy, which is cognitive behavior therapy or dialectic behavior therapy, and that retrains your brain completely, which is really cool. I learned that I find validation among others who inspire me to be a better person, and one of these people is my 5th grade teacher, Miss Fccla. She radiates kindness and has respect for all of her students. She makes sure all of her students leave her class better than when they came in, and she keeps the time and energy for every single student. And even though I'm a pain, she always comes back and she always makes sure that she helps me in every single way that she can. Through time and distance, even though it's been 7 years and we live 14 hours apart, she still makes sure that she contacts me and makes sure that I'm okay. So because of her, I not only aspire to be an example, but also to be a true friend. Because of her, I want to be an elementary teacher, and I hope to do this by going to Laramie County Community College and then finishing off at the University of Wyoming. My leadership positions in Fccla are being the chapter president for the 2019 to 2020 year, and being our chapter secretary and a district officer for the 2020 to 2021 year. In this, I'm able to create meetings, and both pictures were pictures of fall conferences, so I also was able to create this last fall conference that we saw, and since there was lots of COVID restrictions and things, it was really challenging to be able to do that. But I was one of 4 to be able to do it, and one of 2 to be able to go and speak in front of all of the chapters. In school, my leadership positions are being a volleyball manager, and this is a picture of our last game that we had for the season, and we were celebrating a kid who had bone cancer and recognizing him. And I was also a basketball manager, and this is a picture of when we were at a Christmas party for all of the players. In these, I was able to record the players for the local radio, take stats on the teams, take money for tickets, keep score while the teams scrimmaged and practiced, and I was a bookkeeper during the games. At home, my leadership positions are being an older sister, and since my mom isn't home very often, I've had to learn how to cook and clean and get my brothers up and dressed, make sure they have their homework done while trying to do my own, and other different parental responsibilities while she's not there. I also was a young women's leader in church, and that means that girls that were 12 to 18 years old, we would get together and we would have activities, and such as the picture that you see right now, we were doing a service project, and that was what we did most of the time, is things that could help others. We had to have meetings for these activities with the adult leaders and come up with what the girls needed today, what they needed from us a week later, or even within the whole year. Another responsibility that I had to do was family history work in this, and that is looking up the ancestors of all of the church members that we have in our ward and my own as well. The standards in Fccla, even though there are plenty more I could have came up with, because leadership deals with almost every single career, and you have to have leadership skills to be able to do anything in a community setting at all. But the 4 that I came up with are 1.2.1, and this says to analyze potential career choices to determine the knowledge, skills, and attitudes associated with each career. The second one is 1.2.6, and this says to demonstrate leadership skills and abilities in school, workplace, and community settings. The third one is 1.3.1, and it says to analyze goals that support individual and family members in carrying out community and civic responsibilities. And the last one is 2.1.1, and this is to apply management and planning skills and processes to organize tasks and responsibilities. I learned through this project that I may have many flaws, but that's okay because I can use that as a benefit to make myself better. The evaluator said throughout this process that I became more positive, and I continued to work on things even when it was really hard for me to. I noticed that the different things about me was that I talked more often in social situations and in class. And I found out that being overwhelmed is okay because everybody is overwhelmed, and you just have to use that to keep going on. I also learned how to change negative stress into positive motivation to be able to do the things that I didn't want to do. My leader reflection summary says, overall, the week that my evaluators evaluated me was a really hard, stressful week, and it was the anniversary of some really hard things, but I made it through it. I saw that I was even more positive than I was before, and I spoke out more often. I was still very stressed, but I can use that stress as a benefit to be able to have more motivation and power to do the things that I lacked in, and to do the things that I just needed to work on to do better. As a conclusion to my project, my evaluator said that I take pride in my work, I'm trustworthy, I'm responsible, I'm organized, I'm friendly, and I'm really easy to talk to. The evaluator's questions were, what could I have done differently? Or what were the things that were really hard? And I think I definitely needed to have started earlier, and I wish I would have had the evaluators evaluate me before, like I did, and then after, so I can see the progress that I made throughout the year. The last question was, what was one skill that I learned from this project? I couldn't pinpoint one thing that I learned because there are so many things that you can learn when you're trying to do leadership skills. Some of the things that I did learn were communication skills, confidence, how to work through imperfections, how to use stress as a motivator, even when I wanted to quit, and I called this self-discipline. Thank you for the time that you have given me and your consideration.